Sofia's heart pounded in her chest as the rain pelted against the windows, matching the rhythm of her mother's sobs. She could hear her mother's footsteps pacing back and forth in the living room, waiting for her husband to come home. Then, suddenly, the sound of a car pulling up to the house cut through the storm. "Mama, he's here," Sofia whispered, barely audible over the sound of the rain. She watched as her mother rushed to the door, wiping away her tears and plastering on a fake smile. "Welcome home, dear," her mother said, her voice shaking. Sofia's father strode into the house, a beautiful woman in his arms. Sofia recoiled at the sight of her father's mistress, but her mother put on a brave face. "Who is this?" her mother asked, trying to keep her tone light. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is fine," her father sneered, pushing her away. "Can't a man have a little fun?" Sofia's mother's face fell. "Please don't hurt me," she begged. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay." Her father's face twisted with rage. "You're always so worried about me," he spat. "It's pathetic. I hate that you even think about me. You don't deserve me. Get out of my way, please." "Honey, don't do this to me," her mother begged, grabbing her husband's arm. "Don't touch me," her father yelled. Sofia's mother flinched at her father's words, tears streaming down her face. Again Sofia watched as her father raised his hand to strike her mother. She wanted to scream, to tell him to stop, but she was frozen with fear. Her father didn't stop. Instead, he kicked his wife's stomach so hard she fell to the ground crying and clutching her stomach. Sofia retreated to the staircase, her heart breaking with every sob. She clutched her stuffed animal tightly, hoping and praying that her father would leave soon and they would be safe again. After a while, her father stopped throwing punches and kicks after spitting on her mother. Sofia peeked through the railing of the staircase, her eyes wide with fear as she watched her mother sobbing on the floor. Her father, towering over her, yelled insults and accusations at her. "How dare you question me?" he bellowed. "You know I can do whatever I want. You're lucky I even bothered to come back here." Sofia's mother could not speak but whimpered in pain. Her father kicked her mother while she was still on the ground, causing her to scream out in pain. Sofia covered her mouth to stifle her sobs. "You're nothing but a worthless piece of trash," her father spat at her mother. "And this brat," he gestured towards Sofia, "is just a reminder of how much I hate you." Sofia's mother tried to shield her from her husband's wrath, but he grabbed her by the hair and pulled her up to her feet. Sofia watched in horror as he continued to beat her mother mercilessly, her cries echoing through the empty house. "No, please stop," Sofia whispered to herself, tears streaming down her face. But her father didn't stop until he had vented all of his rage and anger as he finally left for his room with his beautiful mistress. Sofia's mother lay on the ground, bruised and broken. Sofia rushed to her mother's side, holding her tightly. When the room was locked upstairs, "Mama, are you okay?" Sofia asked with pain. "I'm okay, baby," her mother said weakly. "Don't worry about me, just go to bed now." "Mama, you also come with me to my room. Dad has locked your room, so where will you sleep?" Sofia asked with teary eyes. Her mother nodded, still trembling with fear and sadness. Mother and daughter made their way to Sofia's bedroom when they heard the woman moaning Sofia's father's name. Her mother cried, covering her mouth. Sofia was 11 years old, but she understood everything that was happening in this house. They slowly went to Sofia's room. Sofia made her mother lie on the bed. Her mother moaned as her whole body was aching with unbearable pain after getting a merciless beating. "Mama, I'm here," Sofia said as she sat beside her mother, holding her hand. "I'll never leave you, I promise." Her mother looked at her with tears in her eyes, her face still swollen from the beating. "I know you won't, baby," she said weakly, her voice trembling with vulnerability. "You're the only good thing in my life," she whispered, the weight of her words heavy with a mixture of despair and affection. "Why do you suffer Dad's beatings and endure him bringing that woman home?" Sofia's innocent question pierced the tense air, her confusion and concern evident in her furrowed brow. "He's a rich man, Sofia, and rich men have insatiable needs," her mother responded, her voice strained with both resignation and hidden anguish. Tears flowed freely down her cheeks, mirroring the turmoil within her. "He feels entitled to vent his anger on me and seek solace in other women, but you didn't have to endure it. Mom, why don't you leave him?" Sofia's voice trembled with a mix of frustration and worry for her mother's plight. "I can't, darling, I have no one to turn to," her mother confessed, her voice cracking with the weight of her truth. "I came from a poor family, and I feel trapped. I'm bound by circumstances to endure this life. And I still love him," she admitted, her lips trembling with a sense of helplessness. Sofia's heart filled with unknown fear. Her father's cruelty had scarred her deeply, and it would take a long time for her to heal. "Don't worry, Mama," Sofia said softly. "I'll take care of you always, and I'll never marry a rich man. Rich people are heartless and demons." Her mother smiled weakly, her hand stroking Sofia's hair. "You're such a good girl, Sofia, but you have to marry one day, just like every girl has to marry. A prince will come to marry you on a white horse. He will make you happy and love you forever." "No, Mom, I will never marry, and I will never leave you. Men don't love, they only beat and treat women as slaves," Sofia cried as she hugged her mother tightly. "Sofia, my child, I love you and will always be with you," her mother whispered in her dull voice. After a few months, Her mother died, though she had died from inside long ago. Her husband's cruelty and betrayal made her choose death over life. She had lost the will to live and hid her illness, so no one could save her. People thought she died from some illness, but Sofia knew it was a murder, though she had no proof to blame anyone. Sofia was left alone in this cruel world, and her problems increased when her father remarried just a week after her mother's death. Her father's beautiful mistress was now her stepmother. She hated Sofia even more. She brought her daughter with her. Her father loved his new wife's daughter more. Sofia's position in her own house was now not better than a housemaid, but she was grateful her father let her continue her school. Sofia used to cry at night, holding her mother's photo on her chest. "Mom, why did you leave me? How can I live without you? Why didn't you take me with you?" she shouted, standing near the window and looking at the dark sky, but got no reply in return. She was left alone in this cruel world where no one loved her. But she vowed to never get married. 7 years later. "Sofia, come to my room quickly." Sofia heard her stepmother, Emma, calling her. She felt a pang of hunger in her stomach, but she knew she had to obey her stepmother's command. Sofia covered her plate and placed it on the slab before leaving. She couldn't risk facing the consequences of disobeying her stepmother. After her mother's death, her life became a living hell. Her stepmother didn't provide her with enough food to eat or proper clothes to wear. Sofia wasn't allowed to enjoy any luxuries in her father's mansion. She was treated as nothing more than a housemaid. Emma, her stepmother, justified her actions by claiming she was disciplining Sofia, fearing that without her mother, Sofia might turn out to be whore due to her mother's poor family background. Sofia was confined to the house and forbidden from attending any social gatherings or her friends' birthday parties. She wasn't even allowed to have any friends. Today, after gathering all the leftover food from dinner, Sofia was relieved to find enough to satisfy her hunger. Otherwise, she had to sleep empty stomach most of the time. However, when her stepmother called her, she had to rush, or she would face severe beatings with burning iron rods. Even now, Sofia carried the scars and pain from those punishments. Emma was sly. She ensured no visible marks were left on Sofia's body, inflicting burns on her feet instead. Sofia had no choice but to endure the pain and continue her work, walking with those burnt feet. Sofia's heart raced as she hurried towards Emma's room. She knocked on the door gently and opened it slowly, trying not to make any noise. She peeked inside and saw that her half-sister Kat, stepmother Emma, and father were all sitting together, deep in discussion. It seemed something serious was going on from the cold and indifferent expressions on their faces. "Sofia, please come inside," her father said in his cold voice. Sofia came inside slowly, bending her head down because she was not allowed to look into their eyes. Her father came in front of her and said, "What took you so long? You know the rules of this house. You need to respect us and our authority." Sofia trembled, nodding silently, feeling ashamed and small. Nevertheless, she knew she had to obey her father's strict rules. "You will be getting married to Leonardo Morelli in 10 days. I have fixed your marriage. You should feel fortunate to become a part of such a wealthy family," her father said abruptly. Sofia's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. She felt as if her world had been turned upside down in an instant. She had never even met Leonardo Morelli before, let alone thought about marrying him. Sofia's mind raced as she tried to process the news. She wondered if there was any way to avoid this arranged marriage and if she had any say in the matter at all.